Luxury habits the rich never talk about. The richest people in the world aren't the ones showing you their lives. They don't explain their routines. They don't post their mornings. They don't teach what actually makes them wealthy. Because real wealth isn't built in public. What you see online is luxury for attention. What they practice in private is luxury for control. They spend less than they can, move slower than everyone else, and design their lives around silence, leverage, and time. These aren't habits meant to inspire you. They're habits meant to protect an advantage. And once you notice them, you'll never look at wealth the same way again. Most people think the rich are obsessed with money. They're not. Money is just a tool to them. Time is the real currency. And this is where the difference begins. The average person wakes up already behind on emails, behind on notifications, behind on expectations set by someone else. They rush, they react, they trade hours for relief. The wealthy do something very different. They design their lives so nothing touches their time without permission. Not people, not meetings, not urgency, not noise. This habit rarely gets talked about because it looks boring from the outside, but it quietly determines who stays wealthy and who only looks wealthy. Time is not measured in hours. The rich don't think in hours. They think in energy windows. They know exactly when they are sharp and when they are useless, and they protect those windows aggressively. While others schedule meetings back to back, the wealthy schedule space, white space, empty calendars, uninterrupted mornings. They understand something most people never learn. A distracted hour is more expensive than an unpaid one. You'll notice this in subtle ways. They rarely respond immediately. They don't rush decisions. They let conversations end first. They leave rooms early. This isn't arrogance, it's preservation. Why they move slower from the outside. The rich often appear slow, unbothered, delayed. They don't jump on trends instantly. They don't panic during headlines. They don't rush to explain themselves. But this slowness is deliberate. It creates leverage. When you move slowly, you force others to reveal their urgency, their insecurity, their need. The wealthy let others rush. They watch, they wait. They decide when clarity arrives. Speed is expensive. Slowness compounds. Busy is a warning sign to the wealthy. Busy is not a badge of honor. It's a signal of poor design. A packed schedule means too many decisions, too many obligations, too many people accessing you. They ask a different question. Does this require me? Most things don't. This is why wealthy people delegate early, not because they are lazy, but because their time is worth protecting before their money grows. They would rather pay someone than pay with attention. Time is protected with money. Here's the part most people miss. The rich don't save money first. They save time first. They pay for convenience, for speed, for reliability, for silence. They outsource friction, cleaning, scheduling, driving. Research not to look important, but to stay focused. Every minute recovered is reinvested into thinking, into strategy, into rest. This is how wealth quietly multiplies. They design days, not to-do lists. The average person wakes up asking, what do I need to do today? The wealthy wake up asking, what kind of day do I want? Focus day, thinking day, meeting day, recovery day. Each day has a theme. Each theme protects energy. They don't mix heavy decisions with social noise. They don't negotiate when tired. They don't plan futures when distracted. They understand that clarity requires space. Urgency is rarely real. One of the quietest habits of the rich is their resistance to urgency. They know most deadlines are artificial. Most pressure is emotional. Most now or never moments are neither. Urgency benefits the seller, the negotiator, the desperate. Calm benefits the buyer, the owner, the investor. This is why the wealthy pause before committing, even when they already know the answer. That pause often changes the deal. Why you rarely see them rushing. Watch closely. The wealthiest people rarely rush physically. They walk slowly. They speak slowly. They pause mid-sentence. This signals control, but more importantly, it preserves thought. Rushing collapses judgment. Slowness sharpens it. This is not accidental behavior. It's trained, practiced, reinforced over decades. Time is where power hides money can be lost. Status can fade. Markets can crash. But time control is durable if you control your time. You control your inputs, your decisions, your outcomes. The wealthy know this. That's why they guard it quietly. They don't announce it. They don't teach it publicly. They just live it. The invisible advantage: this habit doesn't show up on Instagram. There's nothing flashy about empty mornings, or quiet afternoons, or long thinking walks, but this is where empires are designed, deals are structured, risks are avoided, while others chase appearances. The wealthy build systems that buy back time. That's the real luxury. Why this habit changes everything. Once you understand this, your relationship with money shifts. You stop asking, "How much does this cost?" and start asking, "What does this cost me in time, energy, focus?" Freedom, that question alone, filters almost everything out. And this is why they never talk about it, because if everyone understood this habit, luxury would lose its power. Status symbols would fade, and silence would become expensive. The rich don't hide money. They hide how they think about time, because time is the one asset you can't buy more of, but you can design your life around protecting it, and that's where real wealth begins. Most people think wealth looks like spending. More money, more upgrades, more proof. But the truth is quieter and far more uncomfortable. The richer people become, the less they feel the need to show it. At first, money feels loud. It wants to be seen, validated, confirmed. But once wealth becomes permanent, spending becomes unnecessary. And unnecessary things feel heavy. Why new money spends loud when money is new? It feels fragile, temporary, easy to lose. So people try to lock it in with objects, cars, watches, homes that speak before the owner does. This isn't stupidity, it's insecurity trying to feel safe. Spending becomes reassurance, proof that the struggle is over. Evidence that the climb mattered, but the wealthy learn something early. Spending doesn't create security, control does. Old wealth behaves differently. Old wealth is calm. It doesn't rush to upgrade. It doesn't chase novelty. It doesn't need witnesses. You'll notice this in subtle ways. Clothes that look ordinary, cars kept for years, homes that don't scream value. This isn't minimalism, it's confidence. When you know wealth will still be there tomorrow, you don't need to celebrate it today. They spend where it reduces risk. The rich don't stop spending. They just change why they spend. They spend to remove friction, to remove uncertainty, to remove exposure, legal protection, insurance, redundancy, privacy, things that don't look impressive but quietly protect everything else. You'll rarely see these expenses online because they aren't aspirational, they're defensive. Luxury that no one notices. The most expensive things the rich buy don't photograph well. Time buffers, cash reserves, optionality, exit routes. These are luxuries invisible to the public, but priceless to the owner. While others spend to look rich, the wealthy spend to stay rich. Why they repeat, not replace. Most people upgrade when they earn more. The rich often repeat instead. Same restaurants, same routines, same brands, not because they lack taste, but because familiarity reduces decisions. Every decision costs energy. The wealthy conserve it. They don't want variety. They want reliability. Predictability is a form of wealth. When your expenses are predictable, your future becomes calmer. The rich prefer boring expenses, fixed costs, known outcomes, low surprises. Surprises are expensive, emotionally, financially, strategically. This is why flashy spending fades over time. It introduces volatility. And volatility threatens control. They buy fewer things, but better ones. Quantity disappears as wealth grows. Quality replaces it. One coat instead of 5, one watch instead of many, one home that works instead of several that don't. They don't enjoy owning things. They enjoy not thinking about them. Maintenance is friction. Replacement is distraction. Simplicity is leverage. Why discounts still matter. Here's something people misunderstand. The rich still care about price. Not because they need to, but because discipline doesn't disappear with money. They negotiate, they wait, they walk away, not to save money, but to reinforce control. Paying full price without thought feels careless, and carelessness spreads. Status spending peaks early. There's a pattern you can't unsee once you notice it. Status spending peaks before real wealth settles in. That's when logos are loudest, cars are newest, homes are oversized. Later, everything quiets down. Because the goal shifts from being seen to being free. Freedom changes spending forever. When your income depends on appearances, spending feels mandatory. When your income depends on ownership, spending feels optional. The rich don't ask, does this make me look successful? They ask, does this complicate my life? If the answer is yes, they decline. They avoid lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is silent. It feels harmless. Earn more. Spend a little more, but it creates invisible chains. Higher burn rate, less flexibility, more pressure. The wealthy resist this aggressively. They keep lifestyles intentionally under their means, not to feel humble, but to stay mobile. Mobility is power. Why they keep cash idle. Idle cash looks inefficient to outsiders. To the wealthy, it looks peaceful. Cash buys patience, options, sleep. It allows them to say no, to wait, to move only when conditions are perfect. Spending too much removes that option. The quiet math behind everything. Here's the calculation they run silently. Every new expense must earn its place, not emotionally, but strategically. Will this reduce stress? Will this save time? Will this increase optionality? If not, it's noise, and noise is expensive. Why this habit feels uncomfortable. This habit makes people uneasy because it contradicts everything we're taught. We're told success should be visible, rewarded, displayed. But the wealthy learn that visibility invites pressure, judgment, expectation, so they opt out. They don't quit luxury, they redefine it. Luxury doesn't disappear. It evolves, from objects to margins, from possessions to space, from attention to anonymity. That's why their spending shrinks, even as their wealth grows. And this is why they never explain it, because if people understood this, spending would lose its magic, status would lose its grip, and freedom would become the new flex. The rich don't talk about spending less because it exposes the illusion. That money isn't about what you buy, but what you don't have to, and that's the habit that keeps them rich. Most people think privacy is about hiding. The wealthy know it's about protection. Attention feels flattering at first. Validation feels powerful. Visibility feels like progress, until it isn't. Visibility is a liability. The wealthy learn early that being seen attracts costs, questions, expectations, requests, judgment. Every layer of visibility creates pressure. Pressure demands response. Response consumes time. So they reduce exposure, not because they are antisocial, but because access is expensive. Why they share so little. You'll notice this pattern quietly. They rarely post locations. They avoid real-time updates. They share after things are finished. Sometimes not at all. This isn't paranoia. It's risk management. The less people know, the fewer angles they have on your life. Privacy preserves optionality. Optionality disappears when people know your moves, your plans, your resources. Knowledge creates expectations. Expectations create pressure. Pressure limits choices. The wealthy protect privacy to protect freedom. Silence filters people. When you speak less, people reveal more. They fill gaps, over-explain. Show intent. Silence is diagnostic. The rich use it deliberately. In negotiations, in meetings, in relationships, whoever talks less often controls the frame. Why they separate personal and public. Lives the wealthy compartmentalize. Work stays private, family stays invisible, success stays understated, not because they lack pride, but because mixing worlds creates risk. Exposure invites commentary. Commentary invites influence. Influence weakens autonomy. So they draw quiet boundaries. Privacy is not isolation, this is important. The wealthy are not withdrawn, they are selective. They choose who has access and who doesn't, fewer inputs, higher quality interactions, depth replaces noise. Why old money feels mysterious. Old money doesn't explain itself. It doesn't announce arrivals. It doesn't justify choices. It doesn't respond to curiosity. This creates mystique, but mystique is a byproduct, not the goal. The goal is insulation. Public attention changes behavior. When people watch, behavior shifts. Decisions become performative. Risk increases. Authenticity decreases. The wealthy avoid this distortion. They want decisions made in clarity, not under observation. Privacy protects judgment. They avoid broadcasting success. Success attracts dependence, friends with needs, relatives with expectations, strangers with requests. Each one drains bandwidth, so the wealthy understate wins, delay announcements, downplay outcomes, not to deceive but to reduce drag. Information asymmetry is power. The rich often know more than they reveal, but they reveal less than they know. This asymmetry creates leverage. In business, in negotiation, in life, those who reveal everything give up control. Why they choose quiet environments. Notice where the wealthy spend time. Private clubs. Quiet neighborhoods, controlled spaces. Noise invites interruption. Interruption breaks thought. Privacy begins with environment. Digital privacy matters more than ever in the modern world. Attention is harvested. Data is currency. The wealthy understand this, so they minimize digital footprints, separate devices, use intermediaries, not to disappear, but to stay insulated. They don't explain their absence. When they step back, they don't announce it. No declarations, no exits, just silence. Silence doesn't demand response. Privacy creates psychological safety. When fewer people watch, stress drops, decisions improve, patience returns. Privacy gives space to think wrong before thinking right. That space is rare. Why this habit feels unrelatable. Most people are taught to share, to document, to prove progress, but the wealthy learned that proof invites pressure. And pressure distorts priorities, so they opt out. They control narratives by saying less. When you say little, others fill in blanks. This creates ambiguity. Ambiguity protects. Clear narratives attract scrutiny. Ambiguous ones deflect it. Privacy is the new luxury. Real luxury isn't visibility. It's absence, not being reachable, not being searchable, not being expected. That's freedom. And this is why they never teach it, because privacy can't be sold. It can't be flaunted. It can't be photographed, but it quietly protects everything else. The rich don't hide from the world, they filter it. And that filter is what keeps them powerful. Most people are terrified of boredom. They fill every gap, every silence, every empty moment. The wealthy do the opposite. They let boredom stay. They invite it. They protect it. Because boredom is not emptiness. It's clarity waiting to arrive. Why stimulation keeps people poor. Constant stimulation feels productive. Notifications, content, noise, but stimulation fragments attention. Attention fragments judgment. Judgment fragments outcomes. The wealthy understand this chain, so they break it early. They remove stimulation, not because they dislike pleasure, but because pleasure dulls perception. Boredom restores signal. When nothing demands attention, the mind recalibrates. Noise falls away, patterns emerge, truth surfaces. Boredom creates space for uncomfortable thoughts, thoughts most people suppress. The wealthy sit with them. That's where insight hides. Why they take long walks. You'll notice this habit quietly. Long walks, no headphones, no phone, movement without input. This isn't exercise, it's mental reset. Walking slows thinking. Slowness sharpens perception. Decisions improve when the mind is understimulated. They delay entertainment. Entertainment is cheap dopamine. It feels earned, but it blurs priorities. The wealthy delay it. They earn boredom first. Work, thinking, silence, then reward. This sequence matters. Why they don't multitask? Multitasking feels efficient, but it degrades quality. The rich do one thing, fully, slowly. They understand that depth creates advantage. Breadth creates exhaustion. Boredom forces depth. Waiting is a strategy. The wealthy are comfortable waiting. Waiting on deals, waiting on people, waiting on conditions. Most people rush to escape boredom. The rich let boredom pressure others. Whoever moves first often loses leverage. Boredom exposes bad ideas in silence. Bad ideas collapse. They can't survive scrutiny. They rely on distraction. The wealthy test ideas by sitting with them. If an idea survives boredom, it's strong. Why they avoid constant content? Endless content creates borrowed opinions, trends, emotions, reactions. The wealthy prefer original thought. Original thought requires quiet. That quiet often feels like boredom. They schedule nothing on purpose. Open days, unplanned mornings, empty afternoons. This looks lazy to outsiders. It isn't. This is where strategy forms, where connections are made, where long-term thinking replaces urgency. Boredom trains emotional control. When nothing is happening, emotions surface. Restlessness, anxiety, impatience. The wealthy don't escape these feelings, they observe them. This builds emotional discipline. Discipline compounds. Why children of wealth are taught this early? Notice how old money families raise children. Fewer screens, more unstructured time, less stimulation. Boredom teaches self-direction. Self-direction creates independence. Independence sustains wealth. Urgency is the enemy of boredom. Urgency hates stillness. Stillness exposes false importance. The wealthy strip urgency away. They don't confuse movement with progress. They don't confuse activity with value. Boredom makes that distinction obvious. Why this habit feels unnatural today? Modern systems profit from attention. They fear your boredom, because boredom makes you harder to influence, harder to rush, harder to sell to, harder to control. The wealthy step outside this system. They use boredom before big decisions, before major moves. They reduce input. No news, no opinions, no pressure, just time. Time clarifies. The quiet competitive edge. While others chase stimulation, the wealthy sharpen judgment. While others seek distraction, the wealthy build patience. While others avoid boredom, the wealthy extract insight from it. That's the edge. Boredom creates long-term thinking. Short-term thinking thrives on noise. Long-term thinking needs silence. The wealthy think in decades, not moments. Boredom stretches time. It forces perspective. Why they never explain this habit? Because boredom doesn't sell. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't feel exciting, but it quietly separates thinkers from reactors. The rich don't fear boredom. They weaponize it. And that's why they stay ahead while others stay busy. Money can be replaced. Reputation can be repaired. Attention, once given away, rarely comes back clean. Most people chase attention, visibility, recognition, applause. The wealthy learn to fear it. Attention always comes with a cost. Attention attracts opinions. Opinions attract expectations. Expectations attract pressure. Pressure distorts decisions. Decisions shape outcomes. The rich avoid the first step. Why attention feels valuable at first? Attention validates. It confirms progress. It feels like momentum, but validation is addictive, and addiction weakens judgment. The wealthy step away early. Being watched changes behavior. When people watch, you perform. When you perform, you optimize for approval. Approval-driven behavior sacrifices strategy. The wealthy protect themselves from this trap. Attention creates invisible obligations. Once people know you, they expect access. Replies, availability, explanation. Each one drains time. The rich cap exposure intentionally. Why they let others take the spotlight? You'll notice something subtle. The wealthiest people are rarely the loudest. They let partners speak. spokespeople appear. Brands stand in front, they remain behind structure. Attention turns wealth fragile. The more visible wealth becomes, the more fragile it is. Targets form, narratives harden, scrutiny intensifies. The wealthy understand this risk, so they decentralize attention. They choose influence over attention. Attention is loud. Influence is quiet. Attention demands maintenance. Influence compounds silently. The wealthy invest in the second. Why they avoid becoming the brand? When you are the brand, you are the bottleneck. Your presence becomes required. Your absence becomes noticed. The wealthy avoid this dependency. They build systems that function without them. Attention attracts the wrong people. Attention draws opportunists, performers, extractors. Few come to contribute, many come to take. The rich filter attention to filter people. Why public opinion is dangerous? Public opinion is unstable. It shifts, it turns, it forgets. Basing decisions on it is like building on water. The wealthy anchor to fundamentals instead. They limit emotional exposure. Attention invites emotional reaction. Praise inflates ego. Criticism distorts focus. Both are distractions. The wealthy remain insulated. Why they don't correct narratives? You'll notice they rarely explain themselves. Correction draws more attention. More attention creates more narrative. Silence starves it. Attention accelerates burnout. Constant visibility requires performance. Performance consumes energy. Energy depletion reduces judgment. The wealthy avoid this loop. They treat attention like debt. Attention must be repaid. With presence, with explanation, with performance. The rich borrow it sparingly. Why scarcity increases power? When access is limited, attention becomes valuable. The wealthy reverse the dynamic. They let others seek. They choose when to appear. Attention shifts focus away from control. The more attention you manage, the less control you have. The wealthy prioritize control. Why this habit is misunderstood? People assume avoidance equals fear. It doesn't, it equals discipline. They measure success in freedom, not followers, not recognition, not visibility. Freedom, that's the metric. The final realization: attention feels like currency, but it spends your future. The wealthy refuse that trade. They let others chase the spotlight while they quietly own the stage. And that's why attention is the most dangerous currency of all. Most people will watch this and feel inspired. A few will feel uncomfortable. That's the difference. Because these habits aren't impressive, they aren't exciting, they don't photograph well. But they quietly decide who keeps wealth and who only touches it once. Real luxury isn't what you buy, it's what you're no longer controlled by. Noise, urgency, attention. The wealthy don't win by doing more. They win by protecting less. Less access, less exposure, less explanation, and more time, more space, more control. If this changed how you see wealth, you're already ahead. Because once you understand these habits, you stop chasing money and start designing a life it can't take from you. That's real wealth, and it's always been quiet. If you're done chasing noise and ready to understand how wealth actually works, subscribe to CapitalLux. Not for hype, not for trends, but for clarity the wealthy never explain.